Ever wondered how to tell if you have a bad torque converter? In this video, we'll walk you through the most common symptoms to look out for, so stick around until the end to learn more. First things first, let's talk about what a torque converter is. Essentially, it's a fluid coupling that converts engine torque into transmission torque. It's directly bolted to a component called a flex plate, which is rotated by the engine's crankshaft and positioned between the engine and transmission. When fuel is burned in internal combustion engines to generate power, it drives the pistons, which in turn rotate the crankshaft at the bottom of the engine. The torque converter utilizes internal fluid pressure to transmit rotational force to the transmission. The torque converter resides inside the transmission bell housing and is mounted on the input shaft. Diagnosing a torque converter issue without disassembling the transmission or drivetrain can be challenging, but there are several signs to watch out for. Symptoms of a damaged torque converter include shuddering, contaminated fluid, gear changes at high RPMs, and unusual noises such as clicking or whirring. Let's look into these symptoms in more detail. Starting with sign number 1, overheating. If your car's temperature gauge indicates overheating, it could be due to a drop in fluid pressure or a malfunctioning torque converter. An overheating torque converter may fail to transfer power effectively from the engine to the transmission, resulting in poor throttle response and increased transmission wear. Adding to that, a malfunctioning solenoid or low fluid levels can contribute to transmission overheating. Sign number 2, slipping. If you're driving and your vehicle feels like it's slipping or getting delays between gears again, it's likely caused by a failing torque converter. This is because the torque converter converts engine torque into the hydraulic pressure needed to shift gears inside the transmission. Issues such as insufficient or excessive fluid levels in the transmission can also contribute to slipping. Furthermore, you may observe a decrease in your car's acceleration and fuel efficiency. Before taking your car to a repair shop, try to check the transmission fluid levels first. Then, another indicator of torque converter failure is the appearance of a transmission code, such as P0741. When you receive torque converter-related codes, it means the TCM has detected an issue with the torque converter. Sign number 3, contaminated transmission fluid. Automatic transmission fluid, ATF, is important for the proper functioning of a torque converter. However, if the fluid becomes contaminated, it can lead to damage to internal components. For instance, the turbines may develop damaged fins, or the stator may suffer from worn bearings. If you notice a significant amount of black sludge, grime, or debris in the fluid, it may indicate a problem with the converter or transmission. In such cases, it's recommended to change the fluid and then drive the vehicle for a while before rechecking the fluid levels. If the issue continues, it's best to seek professional inspection and assistance for your car. Sign number 4, shuddering. If you're driving and it feels like your vehicle is shuddering, or like driving on a gravel road or a very bumpy road, it could be a sign that your torque converter is failing. You might notice trembling when driving at speeds between 30 and 45 mph if the lockup clutch inside the torque converter is starting to malfunction. A worn lockup clutch can make the transition to direct drive challenging for the converter, which leads to this sensation. If you frequently experience this trembling, especially if it comes on suddenly and goes away quickly, it's time to have your transmission checked. But how can you determine if the shuddering is caused by a bad torque converter? A simple test you can perform while driving is when your vehicle starts to shudder, keep your foot on the gas pedal and maintain pressure on it. Then lightly tap on the brake pedal. If the shuddering stops when you tap the brake pedal, it's likely caused by a bad torque converter. Sign number 5, unusual sounds. If you hear a whirring or whining noise, it's a sign that the internal components of the torque converter are failing and it's on its way out. It's not uncommon to hear strange noises coming from the torque converter as it begins to fail. These noises can include a whirring sound caused by worn-out bearings or a clinking sound resulting from a broken turbine fin, among others. As these components wear out, they can release metal shavings into the transmission, which may lead to premature transmission failure. If you notice metal shavings inside your transmission, act quickly. Immediately flush out your transmission, change the transmission fluid, and replace the transmission filter, and you may be able to save your transmission from getting further damage. Sign number 6. Elevated stalling threshold or gear engagement RPM. The torque converter operates based on a specific engine speed threshold known as the stall speed. This is the RPM level at which the torque converter transfers power from the engine to the transmission. Essentially, it's the RPM at which the converter prevents the engine speed from increasing further if the transmission output is restricted. However, if the torque converter is damaged, its ability to properly convert the engine's rotational force into hydraulic pressure may be compromised. As a result, the transmission may take longer to engage, which causes an increase in the stall speed. So it's important to determine the stall speed of your vehicle, which typically falls around 2000 RPM. There are several potential causes for torque converter problems, but here are some general hypotheses for what might be causing the issue, so don't make any assumptions before having your transmission examined. Worn torque converter seals and clutch, malfunctioning torque converter clutch solenoid, and faulty torque converter needle bearings. How much does a torque converter replacement cost? If you opt to repair it yourself, expect to spend between $150 to $500. A torque converter replacement at a repair facility typically ranges from $600 to $1,000, while the torque converter itself is relatively affordable, ranging from $150 to $350 depending on the vehicle. The replacement process involves removing the transmission, which adds 5 to 10 hours of labor. Additionally, it's recommended to replace the fluid, which may not be included in the quoted price from a shop. There you have it, the 6 signs that you have a bad torque converter. And if you find videos like this helpful, make sure to like and subscribe so we can assist you. Fix it.